Hello again, 405th. EVAkura here, aka Phil Shinner, and today I'm going to be talking about drawing templates. Downloaded a new program called Screenshot-O-Matic. It's allowing me to do the video feed as well as what's happening on my screen at the same time. So I said we're doing drawing the templates. I'm using the Spartan 4 exosuit reference picture, and that is what I'm working on. And ultimately, what we're going to be working on today is this kneecap right here. And if you scroll all the way over, here's the other side right there, in the different angle. I have conveniently cropped them together, so now I can work in one screen. So ultimately, what I'm doing here is this kneecap, I have references off of other parts as well as my own body to figure out the full length and width of this item, and also the depth. What I've come up with is from top to bottom, I'm looking at 5.5 inches of overall length and then 5 inches of overall width. This flat plate right here will end up being 3.5 inches long and 2 inches wide. Now, I said 5 inches wide total, and I've got 2 inches wide here, so that means 1.5 inches in depth at the most extreme side right here. And then I also have 2 inches of travel on this angle right here. Now I've referenced off of, like I said before, I've referenced off of existing pieces, and so far I have these lower pieces right here, and I also have this long piece right here. This one travels all the way up. Let's see if I can go back to this other shot. This is the piece that travels all the way up here, which I've already cut out. And already have my contour lines cut out, just waiting to heat form it. But I have the overall piece already in my possession, so I can hold it up to my body and take the measurements from there to figure out the distances and also the overall size. So, going back to the idea of the template, one thing to think about when you're drawing a template is the thickness of the EVA as well as the travel distance of the angles. Now you notice that there's not much showing right here on this side, which means that this is a pretty sharp angle, but it doesn't change the fact that it does have that overall travel right here. So on your template, you have to depict which one's going to be the distance it's going to travel, and not necessarily the angle that you're looking at right here, because this piece, when it's done, will be folded very extreme, which means that the angle on the backside is going to have to be cut pretty extreme as well. That will help form this flat plate. As far as figuring out what it's going to look like afterwards, when it's into EVA, experience will pretty much dictate that. It's not something I can just, give you a tutorial on and say, hey, it's always going to happen that way. There are times when I look at a piece after I've even drawn it onto the template, and I look at it and go, gosh, how's this even going to work? It doesn't look like it's going to work, but it usually ends up working just fine. Another thing that does help is, like I said, bending the EVA to make sure your angles are going to be matched up with the angles that you're looking at overall. So I've got this angle right here, and as you can see on my piece of paper here, the angle is very, very similar. It will change some because it is a compound angle. It doesn't really look like it from this picture or even from when I bend the paper, but I also am not able to bend the paper simultaneously this way as well as this way. That's one of the reasons why they created EVAkura in the first place, is because you can make those cuts and folds. So now I have this piece here, and what I've done is I've drawn it out onto my template, and I have my overall design as well as my backside contour cuts already drawn out as well. And what's going to happen is I'm going to cut this whole piece out, so it'll just leave me with the outer circumference. I'll then take that, place it onto the EVA, trace around the outside, and then I'll flip it over, do the same thing for the other knee, and then I'll go ahead and cut those two pieces out onto the EVA, which will leave me with the EVA shape as well. Then I can go ahead and cut out, like for instance, these two triangles right here and right here, and then trace those out on the back side, because that's where I'll be making my contour cuts, and then just move around until all the pieces have been used up. This whole thing has been dissected into 5 or 6 different pieces, how many ever there is, and then I'll be able to make my contour cuts in the bottom. I'll know exactly where they are. They'll always be placed in the same thing. Another thing to think about is the image doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. It doesn't have to be exactly the same on this side as it is on this side. That is because this is just one knee, and it will be symmetrical with the other knee once it's been flipped over. So that's the nice part about that. Past that point, I really can't think of much else to say in the respect of drawing out the templates. It is a trial and error kind of a thing, and with experience, you'll get better at doing it. Trust me, I just didn't start doing templates and they all worked out perfectly. If you do have any questions in particular to this, please post it on this YouTube video. If you have any other questions or would like any other kind of instructional demos or anything like that, let me know. If it's within my bounds or my knowledge, I'll definitely try to do a video on it as soon as I possibly can. Just go ahead and post that on my thread in the 405th, and I'll be glad to keep in touch with on that. So I thank you very much for your time, and keep on building.